Hello. In this video, we will continue the lesson on operations on rational expressions. Specifically, we will work with complex fractions. A complex fraction is a fraction that has a fraction in the numerator and or denominator. For example, in this fraction, we have 1/3 plus 1/4, and that sum is divided by 2/5. So, to simplify, in the numerator, we have to add 1/3 plus 1/4. We need a common denominator, and that will be 12. So we'll multiply 1/3 by 4/4, and we'll multiply 1/4 by 3/3. So now in the numerator, we have 4/12 plus 3/12. That sum is divided by 2/5. Now we can add in the numerator, that is 7/12. So 7/12 is divided by 2/5. And when we divide, we multiply by the reciprocal. So 7/12 is multiplied by the reciprocal of 2/5. The reciprocal of 2/5 is 5/2. And if we could cancel, we would at this point, but there are no factors to cancel. So multiplying the numerator together, we have 7 times 5, that is 35. And the denominator, 12 times 2, that is 24. So that's the idea, simplifying complex fractions. Let's look at these two examples where we have variables. The idea is to simplify so that you have one fraction and there is not a fraction in either the numerator or the denominator. So in the example on the left, we have a fraction in the denominator. We need a common denominator. The common denominator will have a factor of x and y. So now, my numerator is x, my denominator is y plus x over xy. So I have x divided by y plus x over y. When you divide, you multiply by the reciprocal of the number after the division sign. So this becomes x times y over y plus x. So it might be helpful to think of this x as x over 1. Then it's clear that in the numerator we have x times y, and in the denominator we have 1 times y plus x, so that is simply y plus x. Again, there's nothing to cancel in the denominator. The y and x are attached by addition, so you cannot cancel. So now we have a single ratio. We do not have a fraction in the numerator, we do not have a fraction in the denominator, and that was our goal. The example on the left, we have a fraction in the numerator. So from our previous example, I see that that's going to be y plus x over xy when I get a common denominator of xy. Now, I'm looking at this 1 and think about that as 1 over 1. And we need a common denominator of y. So the denominator has a common denominator of y, so I have 1 plus y over y. When we divide, so I have y plus x over xy. When we divide, we multiply by the reciprocal of the ratio after the division sign. So I'm going to multiply by y over 1 plus y, the reciprocal. Now in the numerator, I have y times y plus x, and in the denominator, I have xy times 1 plus y. I'm going to write that as y plus 1. And let's look. Y is attached by multiplication, and here y is attached by multiplication. So that means I can cancel that y. So my final answer, my simplified form, is y plus x over x times y plus 1. Now, this x in the numerator is attached by addition, so you cannot cancel. And here is one more example. Let me move one more time. So, this is pretty involved. Let's start with our numerator. In the numerator, I need a common denominator, and the denominator is going to have a factor of x and a factor of x plus 1. So my numerator now, I'm going to have to FOIL x plus 1 times x minus 2. That gives me x squared minus x minus 2 when you FOIL. Then plus 2x, and the common denominator is x times x plus 1. Now working with the denominator. My common denominator is going to have a factor of x minus 1 and x plus 1. So in the denominator, the numerator of this denominator, I'm going to multiply 3 times x plus 1. That gives me 3x plus 3. And now we have to be careful because we're subtracting a quantity. We're subtracting x minus 1, so that means it's minus x plus 1 all over our common denominator of x minus 1, x plus 1. I see that I wrote a mistake here. This is x minus 1. I did it correctly in the numerator, so I'm all set. Now, when I clean up the numerator of the numerator, I have x squared. Collecting my x terms, I have plus x minus 2 over x times x plus 1. Now when you divide, you multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm multiplying by the reciprocal of the denominator. So that is x minus 1, x plus 1, and then cleaning up 3x minus x, that is 2x plus 4. Looking at this numerator, that factors further. I'm going to have to make some room for myself. So right here, this factors to x plus 2, x minus 1. Then I have my x minus 1, x plus 1, all over. Here I have a factor of x. Here I have a common factor of 2. So I'm going to have a 2x out front, x plus 1, x plus 2. Now when I cancel, x plus 2's cancel, the x plus 1's cancel, and my final simplified form is x minus 1 quantity squared all over 2x. Now we would have some restrictions. I'm going back to my original. X cannot equal 0, x cannot equal negative 1, or x cannot equal positive 1. And further, before I canceled, I would have this restriction right down here, x cannot equal negative 2. So there we have done it. Good job. All right, that's the lesson on simplifying complex fractions.